Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about the intra-company transfer program and everything that you need to know about the program all in one umbrella. So you don't have to go to multiple websites, to multiple videos to learn about what this program is all about, okay? I'm going to talk about the international business, what the requirements are. I'm going to talk about all the different relationships between the international business and the Canadian, who is eligible to apply, and the fact that they are LMI exempt. I'm going to touch upon the LMI exemption explanation later in the video today. And the language test is not needed for this, so I'm going to address this right at the beginning before we move ahead. But again, it depends on the application. If the application isn't strong enough and you think that the language requirements, the language test would act as a bonus, then you can sort of use your discretion. I've used it for 2 of my clients so far. And as many people are interested in, you can apply for PR after 1 year. We're going to talk about how you can do that as well. So let's jump right in and talk about all this fun stuff. I'll leave you with a quick note about why I feel the ICT visa is so popular. That's because the government sort of doesn't see it as a risk to Canada, in the sense you're not taking away jobs from Canadian citizens and permanent residents. If anything, the new business is being set up in Canada, and the person coming here is, doing all of the ground up operations and is providing employment to Canadian citizens and permanent residents. So it's a complete low risk, for Canada to say yes to all of these different companies being registered here, and all these people coming through the ICT work permit, especially if you're a business owner and a senior executive. It's very, very low risk. Where the risk comes into place is when you already have an established company here and they're looking to bring somebody, who's a specialized knowledge worker or maybe another senior executive. Then you'll have to go to great lengths to prove that you need this special knowledge worker, and what special knowledge do they have, what proprietary information do they have. But generally speaking, 98% of our clients, we do only 2% of our business comes from established organizations who are looking for specialized knowledge workers. 98% of the time we work with clients who are brand new. They have nothing here in Canada. They are a really good international business. They're looking to expand. And Canada sees those applications as not a high risk. That's why the success rate is so high as well. So before moving any further, I just wanted to get your attention to noting the fact that the LMI exemption codes have changed. So it's not C12 anymore, okay? Most of the times we use the LMI code C61 because, like I said, 98% of our business comes from international businesses looking to expand, and they send the business owner or their key executive, who's also the business owner. So it's kind of like a combined role to start the business here, to start the Canadian affiliate or the subsidiary. In that case, it's C61. But you've got these different LMI exemption codes that you have to use when before December, it was all C12 for everybody. So just keep a note of this. So in the next little bit, I'm going to cover these 4 aspects. Okay, I'm going to talk about the transferee, the person that's applying for the ICT visa, the requirements all around that. I'm going to talk about the current place where they are working, in the sense the organization that has hired them, where they have been working, or in case of business owners, a little bit about the international business that is acting or going to be acting as a parent company for the Canadian subsidiary or an affiliate. I'm going to talk about the Canadian business itself. And I'm also going to talk about the relationship between both the international and the Canadian business. So let's jump right to it, okay? So for the transferee, they should have been in business. That is, they should have been working for that international company, international business, for at least 1 full year. It has to be 1 full year of full-time experience. It cannot be part-time experience, cumulative. Oh, I've got part-time for 2 years, but does that count as? It has to be 1 year of full-time work experience, okay? And only executives, senior managers, or special knowledge workers, in the sense, even business owners, okay? Executives sort of come under that business owner category as well. No passive investors, in the sense, if you are just, a managing director for the sake of being a managing director, but you have been completely working for another organization, or you've been doing some other side business, and you're not, you've not been actively involved in this business that we are considering for setting up the Canadian entity, then you just are not qualified, okay? Proof of work experience. This is a big one. So we have to prove why you're sending this particular person to Canada on this ICT visa. Why not someone else? right? So they're just not their resume, but everything has to match. Sometimes I get resumes where it's completely off compared to their LinkedIn profile. For example, they've not gone and updated their LinkedIn profile, and there is nothing to show for their work, continued involvement of work with that company. That is, no pay stubs, no money coming into the bank account, like literally nothing. So you want to make sure that you're somehow showing that there is a relationship between the person who's being sent to the organization. So we show organization charts, we show events of the company, we show any public notices that's gone out with this person's name, or some of the things that maybe memos that has gone out, whatever it is. We have to show as much as possible for that relationship between the transferee and the business. It's very important. So for the current employer or the current business, the international business we're talking about, so I'm going to go from the bottom line, from the bottommost point upwards. So they have to be a legal entity. Like I talked about this, they should be incorporated, they should be registered. So we'll be asking for HST, GST certificates. We'll be asking for shareholder certificates, articles of incorporation. So all of these documents are extremely important. Okay. Must be in operation for at least 2 years. Now, the reason I say 2 years, it could be 18 months to 2 years. Sometimes 18 months to 2 years is not nearly sufficient for an ICT work visa, okay? The reason I say that is because it's very difficult to get revenues to the level that we need to safely apply for an ICT work permit application. At least these days, where they have they are a little bit stringent on that requirement. Well, it was not the case maybe even last year, beginning of last year, it was not the case. But now you have to be able to show some revenues, at least 150 to 200,000 Canadian dollars you should be able to show. And sometimes if a company is only 18 months old or 2 years old, it's very difficult to get that level of revenues. It may be possible depending on the business they are in, but just keep that in mind. Typically, the companies we work with have been in business for a minimum of 4 to 5 years. Okay, and they're able to easily show $300,000 to $400,000 in revenues, and this is the minimum that we have been working with, and we have had really good success with that level. Now, if you are just 18 months to 2 years, you don't have that level of revenues, but then you've got some revenues, say 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever that is, or under 100,000, say. We could consider other programs for you. May not be the intra-company transfer ICT, but there are other programs that we can consider for you, okay? That's what I mean by good revenues, and I've covered that already. And actively doing business, okay? It's not an incorporation just for the sake of incorporation. You have to be actively doing business, and sort of those two go hand in hand, because if you're not actively doing business, you won't have revenues. And if you don't have revenues, that means you're not actively doing business. So just keep these things in mind when you're applying for the ACT. So now the Canadian business, the way we incorporate the business is very, very crucial. Okay, depending on your current structure of the business, internationally, and what you're looking to accomplish here, how many stakeholders are involved, how many partners are involved. So the kind of structure that we do is sometimes a combination between affiliate and a subsidiary. Sometimes it's purely just a subsidiary, and sometimes purely is just an affiliate. A subsidiary it's called a subsidiary when you have 100% ownership of the Canadian business by the international business alone. So there are no individual owners or individual stakeholders. Then it's a 100% owned subsidiary. And it's an affiliate when the company, the international business, doesn't own anything of the Canadian business, but it's all just individual owners, okay, multiple owners or just one owner. Then it's called more of an affiliate. And sometimes it's a combination of both. We have partly owned subsidiaries, like, the international business owns part of it, and the part of it is owned by individuals. Again, all of this depends on what the international business is looking to achieve. We can come up with a structure that works best for them from a tax standpoint, in addition to making sure that it works for the ICT program as well, so that, it helps them with future extensions and, everything else, okay? Now, we will be asking, as usual, about the articles of incorporation. The shareholder certificate is huge. If they have individual, stakeholders, we need to know who the shareholders are, so that is extremely important. and any lease agreements, right? So if you are signing any lease agreements, either it's for the virtual office or the actual physical office premise, we'll be asking for those kind of documents as well. So in the previous slide, I just literally just talked about the subsidiary and the affiliate. Now I don't mention about the branch, or we don't get the branch set up for any of our clients. Me personally, I don't like that setup, is because it's a very informal setup. So for an ICT, from an ICT perspective, the only two options I give my clients, or when we are even discussing options with our clients, I literally go with just these two options. It's either 100% fully owned subsidiary, or a partly owned subsidiary, or 100% affiliate, or really just a mix of both of them. It's the branch is never even in question. And that's because it's a very informal structure, and I like to keep things a bit more formal when it comes to, at least from an ICT standpoint. So in this slide here, I'm talking a little bit about some of the document requirements for the ICT plan. And this again is in no way a very exhaustive document list. It all depends on what the client sends us. We send them a document checklist, and depending on what comes from our client, we sort of then ask for a lot more documents. We start digging deeper and stuff. So on the surface, this is a good place to start with, gathering all of the documents from your clients. Okay. So the LMI exempt work permit application, as you know, you have to go ahead and do that. It's the IMM 1295. Again, depends on if the person is outside of Canada or within Canada. The forms are different. That needs to get done. Completion of the employer portal, you have to do it, very accurately. That can be done online as well. So there is no form that you need to sign for this, but it's the employer portal is where you will actually go in and sort of put in all of the job requirement details and the salary that you're paying to the ICT work permit, for the applicant itself. So that's what the employer portal takes care of, where you're entering information about the Canadian business and who the point of contact is and all of that stuff. The business plan, again, is very important. You have to put together, it's a business plan catered specifically for the ICT program. Okay, so that needs to get done as well. The entity incorporation, as you can see, the audited financial statements for the parent entity. For the Canadian entity, if you are working with an organization or the company that has been in business already in Canada, then you need the audited statements for Canada as well. But if not, really just from the parent entity abroad. Proof of active involvement in the business for the transferee. We talked about this a little bit, so you just have to make sure that you are providing whatever information that you can provide to let IRCC know that they have been actively involved in the business. So resume, LinkedIn profile, any memos that sent out, any public announcements, money coming into the bank account, pay stubs, all of these things are different documents you can use. Employer contract agreement. If the company is not getting one done properly. Now, this employment contract agreement is for the one in Canada. Most times, if it's a new setup, clients are lost. They don't know how to go about it. So you can help them, or we help them with the employer contract agreement. So we draft everything and we just get them to sign. Okay. And make sure that the person signing is not the same person as the ICT applicant. It's someone different from their parent organization that's submitting. That's why it's always a challenge when you do ICT applications for a person that's running a one-person company. It's it's highly unlikely that IRCC will not feel that it's genuine, and they may reject the application. So you want to work with companies that at least have like 5 or 6 other employees, or it's not running a one-man show. Okay. Ties to home country is a very tricky one. We've had applications where, we have had no ties to home country, wherever they are from, no properties, no family, nothing, but those applications have gotten approved. But there are some applications where we've had ties to home country, like properties and family and everything, and those have been rejected as well. Now, because of all the crazy rejection spree that's happening with IRCC. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's because of ties to home country. Sometimes it's AI looking at all of these applications and randomly just sending out rejection letters. So regardless of how IRCC may look at it, I want you to know that ties to home country is extremely important. So if you have family back there, properties back there, you're involved in some sort of community or church or whatever that is, you want to make sure you talk about all of that stuff in your application. So IRCC knows that when your application is approved, you come here and for any reason your application is not getting extended, you're not getting your work permit extended, you're not going to apply for PR, you have the motivation to go back to where you're coming from. Okay, so that's important. Offer of employment, again, is one of those things where if it's a new setup for Canada, we help them draft this, okay, for the ICT applicant that's coming here. And that the information that goes in here sort of goes into the employer portal as well. Now, the letter from the current employer is from the current organization, from the current business, that basically states that, oh, this person, ICT applicant, has been working for this company for X number of years, and this is their salary. And these are their, jobs. This is their job. These are their responsibilities and duties. So it's sort of like a document that sort of has all of that, so that you use more like a cover page. And then you talk about pay stubs and show proof that, see, look, we have been paying this person X amount of, dollars every month as income for their work for our company and all that stuff. So all that wonderful stuff comes under the letter from current employer, okay? And employment references, again, it depends on your situation. So if you are someone who is a senior executive working for a company, you may have worked for other companies in the past. So you're getting past reference letters, past employment letters to prove that you've got the experience. If you are a business owner coming here, then maybe you have client references, client recommendations, and you want to show as much as you can under this tab in the employer in the portal. Personal and bank account statements, this is huge, okay? So this part of it, you need to be very careful. So if you're just sending a one-page document that sort of summarizes your bank balance, or maybe a net worth statement that just summarizes your net worth, that's not enough, okay? I can't stress the importance of this. You need to show at least 6 months to 1 year of bank statements that has money coming in and going out. It has all of these information that we need to show in the application. And sometimes these documents are huge, and so you should very creatively compress these documents so that you can actually attach it to wherever you can attach it to in the application. So just keep that in mind. Net worth statement from an accountant, it's also important. So not just bank statements, even net worth statements. So if you have a spouse, even if she's not coming, you want to just make sure that you are talking about her net worth statement or his net worth statement. Just include that in the application, okay? Strong LMI exemption explanation. This is so critical because this is huge, because you're not applying for an LMI under the ICT. That is, you're completely going around the labor market impact assessment and the ESDC as an organization that is responsible for making sure jobs are not taken away from Canadian citizens and permanent residents, as I had explained before. So you need to go to extra lengths to prove that this person coming here has the experience and the business has the capacity to create economic benefit. You are touching upon all the regulations, and you're touching upon maybe some case laws if you can. So this is extremely important. The way you draft this LMI exemption explanation will make or break your application, okay? And the representative submission letter, that's where we come into play. And of course, we are the ones drafting the LMI exemption explanation as well. But in addition to that, the representative submission letter is a 10 to 15 page document that basically packages this client and his business, okay, to IRCC and presents it in a way that's easily understandable, okay? And they understand the business easily, they understand the structure easily, they understand the relationship between the different the international organization and the Canadian business easily. So when they look at it, they're like, okay, they've got all these sections, and you're hitting it on the spot with everything that they understand easily. So it's easily an approval. Instead of them coming back and asking for 1,000 documents, depending on how nice the assessing officer is, and if they think it's too confusing, it's too all over the place, they may just reject it overall, okay? So that's something for you to know. Now, with regards to the investment amount and program requirements, I said 100 to 150K, but it really depends, okay? So anything less than this amount is always a tricky business. You have to show at least 100 to 150K. in your account. Okay, it doesn't have to be an account in Canada, obviously, because you're still overseas. You're not physically present here to open a bank account. So you have to show this amount in your international bank account, whether it's your business bank account or your personal bank account. It doesn't matter, but you have to show this amount to show to IRCC that you've got the money for your first year business expenses, which includes, maybe getting an office space and definitely hiring at least one permanent resident or Canadian citizen. Now, hiring one permanent resident or Canadian citizen is just the minimum. Okay, now depending on your business, depending on what you have stated in your business plan, you may need to hire more than that. And if you are showing that you are hiring, say, 10 people, you're a huge oil company, if you just show 100K, it's not enough. You may have to show at least $500 to $1 million in your account to show that you've got the expenses to pay for the first year. Okay, and leasing an office space, I get asked this question many, many times. It depends. Okay, when you first come to Canada, maybe a virtual office space is enough. Okay, but then when you're looking to hire all these different people, okay, it's not that they can't work from their home. Okay, you may get an office space and everybody will still continue to work from their home, but you need to have an office space. If you are interested in applying for further extensions and getting your PR and all of that, it's extremely important that you have an office space. If you are not interested in all of that, you're not interested in PR, it's okay. You just run your business the way you want to run. I mean, nobody is going to ask you. But once you get your PR, okay, there are so many differences. There are so many different things you could do to avoid unnecessary costs for your business. But look at all of these expenses as costs to get your PR. Okay, if that's your ultimate goal. Okay. Even if you don't want PR, you just want extensions of your visa, then you need to show the officer that you've done something in your business. That is, you're getting revenues, you're, creating employment for people, you've, created jobs, and you also have an office space. The office space really is sort of like a cherry on top, which is extremely important. And I can't dumb it down in any other way, okay? So, in minimum 1 year of work experience is needed. When I say work experience, minimum 1 year, the business has been running in Canada for at least 1 year before you can apply for PR. Now, a lot of people ask me, okay, what if I'm in Canada only for 5 months, the rest of it I'm traveling back and forth? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're getting paid in Canadian dollars. You are working for the Canadian entity and you're going back and forth between different entities. It doesn't matter. You are getting paid in Canada. You're paying Canadian taxes. You have your lease here in Canada where you're renting, you're working. So for all practical purposes, you live in Canada and then you're working somewhere else. You're traveling for business, okay? So it doesn't matter. You can still apply for PR after you completed that 1 year, after you landed in Canada and after you finished 1 year, okay? But the first thing we do is apply for an extension of your visa, okay? And then we apply for PR. So that again, I keep saying that in many of my videos, but I keep getting these questions again and again. So I just want to make sure that you know that the extension always comes first before PR. And here I've given a little bit of a breakdown of the fees, just so you have some idea as to what the different components are and what the fees related to the application are, okay? So I'm going to start with the Canadian entity structuring. You could do it for $150 online, but I'm just telling you this, and I've mentioned this in a few of my other videos. You will only get something, you get what you pay for, okay, in most of these things. So for $150, are you going to get that complex structure that we are looking for? Maybe not. But if you're looking for a very simple structure, you just want something very simple, straightforward, go ahead and do it for $150. But don't be sure that it may work fully for the ICT application, because the structuring is so important, because that's where we are showing the relationship between the international business and the Canadian business. And $4,000 is really on the high end. But that's because if you want to get like a really complex structure done, you want to get a federal entity with multiple provincial, extra provincial licenses, or separate, provincial licenses for different provinces. I mean, it depends, okay? I don't know what you have in mind, but it's highly unlikely that it will go past the $4,000, okay? Typically, it ranges $22,500 to $3,000 maybe, to get like a really nice structured incorporation done for you with all of the bells and whistles that you want for the application, okay? Business plan, we talked about this before. It's very specific to ICT. So there are business plans that's done for different reasons. Sometimes you want to take it and, go get some funding from a VC, or there are cases where you would take it and go to the bank to ask for a loan. This one has specific portions that the IRCC will skip to. Believe me or not, they don't read the 45-page business plan. They go to separate sections of the business plan to make sure that you know what they're talking about, right? You know what the business does, right? Recruitment plan do you have in place? Have you explained the economic benefit properly? So there are aspects of the plan that's extremely important. I know people who do it even for 500, but that's all you get for 500. Whatever you get is, it'll be worth 500. But typically it'll be around the $3,000 to $3,500 range. And if you want to go with some crazy business plan with a lot of bells and whistles, you can go up to 6,000 and sometimes even more. Okay. So employer portal and compliance, you may ask me, the compliance fee is only $230. Why are you charging us so much? Well, it depends, right? There's a lot of work that goes into completing the employer portal. There is a Mickey Mouse way of completing the employer portal, and there is a really nice way to complete the employer portal. It depends on how it's completed, and I call it the labor of love, okay? So it depends, right? So you can get it done for literally next to nothing on your own, $230. A lot of people ask me, hey, you're only $230. Why are you charging so much? I'm like, well, it's the difference between you doing it and somebody else who has the experience doing it, because we have done so many applications. We know exactly what goes into it. And like I said, labor of love, I think that summarizes everything. Same thing is the case for ICT work permit fees. It's only $150, $155 if you go to the government website, but then we charge more because, again, it comes with how these application forms are completed. Accuracy is so important, no mistakes. And it's not just that one application form. There are so many immigration application forms that need to be completed for this entire application to be complete. Okay. And spousal open work permit fees, exactly the same thing. And study permit fees for the kids. Each one comes with, their own forms and everything that we need to complete. Biometrics is only $85 per person. There is nothing that we have to do. We just have to go online and pay the fees. So we don't charge any, at least I hope, people don't charge anything more for biometrics, because that is the government fee that goes directly to the government. Okay. And immigration advisory application. This is, I think, the core of the application, where you're really paying a consultant for, their cumulative experience on all the different applications that they have worked on. Now, is this the rocket science application that you really can't do on your own? Absolutely not. But what you're missing when you're putting stuff on your own is the cumulative experience that we have over putting so many applications together, okay? For that structuring, for that, we sort of package it nicely to present it to IRCC with no mistakes, no errors. We thoroughly check the application top to bottom multiple times before we hit submit. And that's where I think, a lot of people are, the reason I make such videos is because I want to be able to share as much as information as possible so people can put applications together. But, there are so many things that's in my head when I'm working on applications that I possibly can't put it in a video or explain it even if I wanted to, right? So you are basically paying for that particular piece, because everything else, can be figured out. It's not difficult, but certain aspects, again, I don't want to delve too much into it, but that really is the price, right? And for police clearance and upfront medical exams, I really don't know which country you're from and how much they charge. So you need to make sure that you are taking those costs into consideration as well. So I think that pretty much summarizes the fees. Now for the interesting part, how to apply for PR after 1 year. So you can apply through FSW if you have a stake in the company. If you are one of the shareholders, okay, so you've come here on an ICT visa, you're also a shareholder, you're a business owner, then you can only apply through FSW. You can't apply through the Canadian Experience class, because then you get stamped as a self-employed person, and self-employed people are not eligible to apply through the Canadian Experience class. And do you need to get another LMIA? No, you don't, because when you came here through the ICT, you came here through the Canadian interest category. Okay? All you have to do is get yourself a new job offer, okay, a new one. You can't use the same one that you used for getting your ICT visa approved. You just need to get a new job offer, okay, through which, and the job offer has to be valid for at least 1 year after you get your PR, okay? So once you have that job offer, you instantly get your 200 points or 50 points, depending on your knock code, and then you're off to the chases. Now, language requirements is a must. So I did say that initially when you applied for ICT, you don't need to get language, depending on if you wanted to use the language test as a bonus. But when you're applying for PR, again, under FSW, language requirements is one of the key requirements. So you need to go ahead and get your language requirements done. I have made another video that explains this so clearly. So I really suggest you go ahead and watch that program where I'm explaining deep about how this, Canadian interest category work and how the, no LMIA requirement works. So just please go ahead and watch that video. And I will leave it in the description below as well, the link to it. At the end of all my videos, I ask if there are any questions and if they can leave it in the comments below. I always get people sending me emails and WhatsApp messages. I just want to make sure that my answers are, helping as many people as possible. So if you have a question, a genuine one, just leave it in the comments below and I will get to it definitely within the 24-hour period. And I really hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Ciao.